Welcome, Justin McClintock, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No, anytime. So I have you in your fitness and wellness coach. And I mean, if we just look at the name fitness and wellness, I'm sure it's pretty self-explanatory, but in your own words, tell the world what you do.
It's both self-explanatory and extremely vague, right? It's always worth digging into. So you just said that. What does that mean again? It's like a consultant. Like, okay, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
I create individual fitness solutions for committed people without wasting time or compromise. So everything I do is custom one-on-one. A person has had a problem. My specialty is people who have suffered a significant setback. Maybe it's an injury, maybe it's chronic pain, maybe they've hit a performance plateau. I have a fair amount of people who kind of fell out of fitness. They used to train a lot or be some kind of fit, and life happened, pandemic, family, job, things got in the way, and now they want to get back to it and they're not really sure what the way in is, or they've tried what they think the way in is, and that way isn't working. That's
Mm.
where I come in to create the solution for them.
And that weigh in, is that typically like a fad diet? I know many people are like, oh, it's on keto. I tried keto and I lost so much weight. Or it could be, oh, I did Whole30 and it was so great for me.
People will try all kinds of jump starting solutions and often have. I'm usually nobody's first stop, which is
Mm.
good. I like it when people have tried other things because then we can dig into why those things maybe didn't work.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important that I don't set goals for people. I don't come in with any necessarily preset expectations. I don't want you to lose weight. I don't want you to put muscle on. I don't want you to be faster. I don't want you to be stronger. I do want you to be functional and live a long time and be happy and healthy with your life. But that means very different things to very different people. Like the person
Mhm.
who wants to be a competitive marathoner is signing up for a fair amount of pain and sacrifice and injury and saying no to social obligations. But if that's their guiding light, if that's their biggest goal, I don't think it's mine to tell them that's wrong, as long
Mhm.
as they understand what those trade-offs are. Same thing if someone used to be a competitive runner and now they just want to feel good and be comfortable getting on the ground with their kids and be able to go for hikes. And if their friend calls them to go for a 5 mile run, they want to be able to say yes without worrying about it. It's a very different training plan with a bigger eye on longevity. And those people tend to be happier because we can also make a 6 month, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan.
And what I love about what you do is that you don't have a cookie cutter type of program. Everything you do is customized. Same thing with my coaching. I made sure when I did my whole coaching process, my business, that I wanted to create something that wasn't just a cookie cutter program, wasn't just a program that I sold off in an email to everybody. What you get is going to be tailored to you. And I find that so important, especially in today where there's so much variety. I mean, God damn it, if you go to the potato chip aisle, you're going to probably be there an hour trying to figure out what you want. And I know it can be very difficult for people to say, well, what type of wellness coach or fitness coach do I get? Right. Because if you go online, you type it in, you're going to be bombarded with people who have ads on Google or, just the top person. Are they the right fit? Right. And trying to find the right fit rather than just saying, well, this is the first choice. This must be the best choice. Not necessarily. Right. We have to be able to do our homework. We have to be able to find something that's going to work for us and that we're going to be happy that we went ahead, signed up for coaching. What is something you tell your new clients who come to you that have come from cookie cutter type programs that you can kind of say how we're different, like we're not like everyone else, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think the first thing that sets me apart is you can't necessarily work with me. And it's not
Mhm.
because I'm too good for anybody, but it's really important to me that you're a very good fit. So if you come in and you're like, well, I have this pain, I've tried other things, I've been hurt, I have a pretty good training history. My friend said you're the person, here's my money. Or hold on, I will not take your credit card. We have to have a
Mhm.
conversation about who you are and what your goals are and what it is. And first of all, I don't want to take you unless I am confident 100% that I can help you solve your problem. Like if I'm not sure I can do that, I don't want to work together. Both of us will be unhappy. Ditto if I'm not sure that you'll be able to execute on the process. It's not necessarily difficult because we're designing a program that should be aimed at you. So it should work with your life, your schedule, your equipment availability, all of that stuff. But if you tell me that I've started 5 programs in the past 5 months and quit all of them, I'm very trepidatious. And we might talk what it would look like to work together so that we're both confident you can follow through on that. But I'll also tell people when we start talking, if I can't help you, I'm going to refer you to someone I think can. I'm going to
Mm.
send you somewhere that I think you can get what would actually be the right thing for you. It takes more than a heartbeat and a credit card to work with me. And that hopefully builds a fair amount of trust and credibility because I mean it. And
Hmm.
then we can start having a conversation. And it's not just waiting to get to the end so they can hand me a credit card or try and negotiate a price or something like that. I think being ethical with your sales, not selling anything to anyone who isn't really a perfect fit, first of all, will set you apart from other people. And it also feels really good, Michael. Like as a coach, you're like, oh, like the same thing with individual solutions. One of the reasons I do it, I suspect you too, is because it feels great to really help people in a fundamental and effective way, as opposed to giving them this template, which is going to be, 75% good for 75% people. And I'm probably not going to hurt anyone. And it's fine. It's only $20. They'll be great. Like
Hmm.
nothing against the people doing that. Like they are helping some people a little bit, but taking the time to really get to the heart of someone's problem takes work, and understanding whether or not you can be really effective there also takes a fair amount of self-reflection and self-awareness, I think.
Hmm. No, beautifully said. We as a society have forgot that people are people, I think, right? Everything is just so much behind the screen. And we don't take the time to really dive deep into who someone is, how they think. And we just kind of put them in a line as everyone else. And that's who we identify that person as. They're just another subscriber. They're just another follower. They're just another piggy bank to get money from. Well, that's so far from the truth, especially for people who care, who want to make a difference in the world. And coming from my background, I'm a former educator. I went in school every single day. Those kids were basically my kids. I wanted the best for them. I gave them everything I had, 100%. And when I have a coaching client, I want to give you 100% too. And if we're not a good fit, how can I give you 100%? I can't. I can't. So I do also make sure that you are a good fit and that we can work well together. And if there has been a hiccup in your past, well, let's work together, right? Because I'm a big believer in that limiting beliefs are created by other people and then ourselves. You're going to have a teacher, a person somewhere in your life that says that you can't do something, that you're not good enough, that nothing that you do is going to change, or you're not going to be able to make an impact. And eventually, somewhere, our subconscious minds believe that. So now we're just going to be going after program after program after program because we have that problem in our mind that just has to be tweaked or flipped. You're a person, you mean something, you can do something, you have so much more to give versus then you're just like everyone else. Whatever you do, doesn't matter if it surmounts anything or if it doesn't, you're just another tack in the thumb box. We have to get past that, right? Bringing back the people into the business. And I love what you said, right? Just having that power to say, you know what, like we're not a good fit, so I'm not going to work with you. That brings so much power to us, but then it also creates that trust with them, like saying, wow, like he just is not out to be like a snake in the grass per se. We have to learn how to bring back that people aspect to our work ethic. Do you have any type of tips or tricks or suggestions that help people understand that your program or your type of work that you do for them is something that is going to be worthwhile, where they're saying, I would rather work with Justin than get a program that's 50% cheaper, that's a one-time purchase?
Yes, and it usually starts with their goals. We spend a fair amount of time kind of unpacking their dream, and something you just referenced, like their self-limiting beliefs is often a big part of that, and something we have to work through sometimes even in just establishing this goal. If someone comes and says, I want to run my first 5K, great, I'm excited. I suspect we can do that. Why do you want to run a 5K? Oh, well, I've always wanted to do it and just never done it, and I have a friend who's going to do it, so we're going to do it together. Okay, cool. Why have you've never done it? You say you always want to do it, like, and start digging and digging and digging. And inevitably we will find maybe someone, like you said, a coach when they were in high school told them that they weren't fast or they would never be able to run further, or something was wrong with their knees, or a family member told them that they had inherited their bad back, as if that's a real thing, or they've been carrying around all this stuff that's keeping their dream, frankly, a little bit small. Nothing against running your first 5K. That's a fine goal. But if we say, oh, well, all of these limiting beliefs, what you're painting the picture of someone who's not capable of running and can't express athleticism and is a little bit fragile. What if we could create someone who's very much not fragile and could say yes to these athletic endeavors, including running a 5K whenever they wanted to? That's bigger. And this is an interesting goal. And usually it resonates a little more deeply with people. Now, running your first 5K is going to be on the way there. Yes, we are going to stop there on the way. but that's not going to be the end goal. We can keep going if you want to and develop this and develop this and develop this, and letting people see that they're getting in their own way a little bit can often be really useful. And I think that is part of something you just said, like treating people holistically, like see the person and also explain to them that part of this process, we can lay out what a training plan will look like. But especially in this one-on-one work, one of the things I find so satisfying is that it will adapt to you day to day, week to week. So when you have, I'm excited, you're excited, we're starting a training plan, super cool. 12 weeks from now, something's going to blow up at work and it's going to be very stressful. And you're going to bring some of that stress home. You're going to have a fight with your significant other. You're going to sleep terribly. You're going to wake up and your run is going to go awfully. Up, training wheels fell off. Well, hopefully, I will notice that the run didn't go well. Even more, hopefully, you reach out and say, I just didn't feel good. I don't know what's going on. We'll unpack the past day, week of stress. Oh, great. You are almost at capacity with stress before we even start training. We're going to adjust your training for the next, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, whatever it has to be. So we can keep being effective, keep moving you forward, but not break you. Because that's a situation where someone is already almost at capacity of poor sleep, diet, stress, all of these things. If we keep piling on a training plan designed for a healthy, recovered person, we're in real danger of, at best, burnout. At best, they stop caring at all. At worst, catastrophic injury, which we never, ever want to do. So we're going to pull it back and adjust something realistic, challenging, but still realistic, so we can meet you where you are day to day. Hopefully, we can reduce that stress, work on your sleep, work on your diet. So 7 days from now, you're feeling like a Greek god. Oh, great. Well, I know we were going to do this medium day. You're so fully recovered. We're going up here today. We're really going to kill it because now you're fully recovered. And that's part of seeing the person, recognizing that these aren't automatons and they live in a world where, a terrible headline could really affect their training that day, and being able to adjust for that, I think, is one of the most valuable things about one-on-one coaching, and something that it's just impossible to get out of a template or a group program.
That's very helpful. When they're about a burnout, we say, well, let's not get to that burnout, because if you know anything about burnout, it is difficult to recover from. They get to that point, it could take a month to get back to normal. But if you see it right when it starts or just when it's about to begin, you can say, hey, let's take it back a little bit. Let's still go to the gym. Let's work out. But, let's be conscious about what we do. And for me, I have ABC days at the gym, where C days might be a lighter type of rep. So it's not as heavy, but it's still a good workout for me, where I'm working on more reps, but less weight. I find that I go to C days when I'm just kind of feeling not myself that week. It's just like I'm so busy with work, and it's not so much burnout. It's just like I know I have to go to the gym because it's part of my schedule, my routine. I know if I push myself on an A workout, I'm not going to give 100%. So I said, well, which workout can I give 100%? Because the moment I don't give 100% in a workout is the moment my A workouts become 50%. So I was like, all right, let me keep A 100%, B 100%. And if I have to go to C, an easy workout, I'm understanding I'm doing a C workout, but I also understand I'm still giving 100% during my C workout. It just helps me in my brain saying, you're still giving 100%. Even though we're doing a C workout, it doesn't mean anything. It just means it's part of your workout plan. You have one different workout. And just having multiple tools in the toolbox, per se, to go to whenever you need it. And I think some people just get into that mindset where they get to burnout, they get to this stress, and they just make it a constant. They're like, oh, work is always stressful for me, and they stay there. They have a relationship problem and they stay there. And it's always habitual, right? So it's kind of like they never cure the problem, and it's always a recurring issue. So yes, they might be off for a week, and then you say, okay, let's take it easy. Then you're on back 100%. Then you find out 2 weeks, they're the same thing, right? So there's a bigger problem, right? What do you do when someone has basically a recurring stress factor that needs to be addressed, that might be away from wellness and fitness?
Well, I think it's basically everything is open to talk about, right? I have all the time suggest people make changes at work, especially if someone is having a chronic pain or maybe a nerve issue, and we dig down and realize that part of it is because, you're having what I suspect is a sciatic nerve issue, and you sit in an office chair for 8 hours a day, which we know is kind of not great posture. It tilts your pelvis underneath in a way that's weird and compressing and not awesome. I will absolutely say, okay, we need to find a way to get you on your feet. Like, what are our options? Like, can we get you a standing desk? Can we put you up? Can we set an alarm and have you walk around the office 3 times every hour? You're going to stand up every at the 12:57, 1:57, go up and go for a little walk. Like, these are things we need to adjust. Yes, the sets and reps and movements you do in the gym are important, but the other 23 hours of your day have a major impact on what you're doing. And I think it's my responsibility to dig into some of that. I don't hawk products, I don't sell anything, but maybe we need to change the way you sleep. Maybe you need to buy some blackout curtains. Maybe we need to have a conversation about how late you're running your streaming service because it's keeping you up and affecting your sleep and you're not recovering and you're not training and you said this was your goal. So if this is still true, reverse engineering that means we have to kind of cross all of these boxes and dot all of these I's on our way there. I think it's all part of it. That's part of seeing the whole person.
Mm-hmm. And do you find like their habits might be one of the reasons why they give up or they just don't push themselves? Because I find that people want to change, but then once they start to implement the change, they kind of realize, like, okay, in the beginning, this is nice. And then they say, you know what, like, this is a lot more work than I thought. Similar to how New Year's resolutions are, where it's like, I'm starting on January 1st and I'm going to get me a trainer and I'm going to get me a gym membership. And they do all of those things and they are great. But then at the same time, by March, they're already wiped out and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to go to the gym until next year. What's your viewpoint on that?
I always try and build something that is eminently sustainable. And a lot of times we'll talk about minimum effective volume with someone, especially if they're relatively new to training, especially if they're new to me. And minimum effective volume, the idea is what's the smallest dose we can possibly give you and still move you forward and
Mm.
still make progress, right? Like I suspect for someone, just as someone who has A, B, C days at the gym, if I give you, all right, 3 days a week, we're going to do 6 push-ups. I suspect that wouldn't be enough, right? I don't think we would actually get anything done. So that's not effective volume. That's not enough. We need to build up a program so it's still moving you forward to your goals. But what's the smallest amount we can do? And then make sure that works with their lives. And sometimes we have to make hard decisions. If there's someone who is regularly, work is blowing up and relationships are hard and their kids are running them around and they, regularly are missing workouts, we might have to dial back our expectations and say, well, you said you wanted this, and this requires 5 days a week for 90 minutes to 2 hours in the gym, but you can't do that. Now we could build you this, which is 3 days a week for 30 minutes. What if we did that and just crushed it? Just nailed it. You could give 100%. You could execute perfectly. If we could do that for 3 or 4 weeks, I think you would feel a lot better about the whole thing and about yourself. And then if you want to add a fourth day, great. Or maybe we add an optional 10 minutes at the end of one of those days and we expand and expand and expand. And then it's sort of like habit stacking, but just within exercise and movement, where the more you do it, the more you do it, the more it becomes something that you do, as opposed to something that's on the chopping block, right? Like biggest, most complicated, most beautiful program, if it's not something you can actually execute and follow through with, is absolutely useless. It doesn't matter how much science and research is behind it. So let's build something that works with your life. And certainly, I mean, 2 years ago, like lockdown was all about this. People were, well, but my Olympic lifting skills. Yes, I know. You're in a basement with a sandbag and a rubber band. We're going to build you a program with a sandbag and a rubber band, and it's going to be great. And you're going to get strong and you're going to stay mobile. And we're going to do all of these things. And then we'll get back to Olympic lifting as soon as we can. What you want is unrealistic. We need to adjust for what's actually going on. And sometimes, just as a coach, you need to be a sounding board for some of that stuff, pointing out the patterns. So every 3 weeks, you go out hard for a weekend, and then Monday and Tuesday kind of goes to hell. You don't follow through, and you feel bad about it for the next 3 days. And we climb out of this hole over 10 days, have a good week, and then kind of end back up in that hole. And I'm not telling you what is more valuable, the hard weekend or the good training, but I need to point this pattern out to you so we can at least have a discussion about it.
And yes, the habit building, because it is going to be how you get to that 90-minute mark in the gym. You might start at 15 minutes in the gym, right? As long as we're going there, you might say, I'm going to walk on the treadmill 15 minutes. Start there, right? Maybe you want to move up, saying you want to do 30 minutes of cardio, 15 minutes on the treadmill, 15 on the elliptical, stairmaster, bike, whatever you choose, right? Find something you enjoy. I find that many people will do something that they don't enjoy and then they hate going to the gym. If you don't like the treadmill, don't go to the treadmill. There's many other cardio equipment in the gym that you can utilize to get your cardiovascular type of pump. But sometimes people think, well, my friend Becky, goes on the Stairmaster and she has a big butt. So I have to be on the Stairmaster and have a big butt. But every time I'm on the Stairmaster, I just hate it so much. Well, do you like swimming? Do you like biking? Oh, yeah, I like those. So they don't do Stairmaster, right? Swimming is going to work out more muscles than the Stairmaster. You just have to figure out what do you like. And I think many times people go into the gym with a vague awareness of what to do. And either they're doing things incorrectly or they're doing things that their friends told them or their friends do. So they're going down that path. And then when they finally get someone like yourself, they're like, okay, I guess I have to not do what I was used to. So then they're doing something different. They might like it, they might not, and they might not even be open and saying, hey, I don't like being on the treadmill. For me, I don't like being on the treadmill. I will do steady state incline on the treadmill, but running on the treadmill, I would rather run on the basketball court. I would run on the track. I won't run on the treadmill, right? Because it starts making all this noise and it's just annoying. So that's just me. But I'm not afraid to get a cardiovascular pump. And I think sometimes we get to that point in our mind where it's like that trigger of, oh my God, stop, stop, stop. My heart's about to come out of my chest. Stop. That point right there is going to lead us to something. And I want to get your take on that, right? When someone's at that point where they're wanting to give up and their brain is saying, stop, 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 you fool. What are you doing? What do you tell them instead?
Several great things there. So let's talk about that and then we'll go in reverse order.
Mhm.
Everyone's had that moment exercising, and especially if you haven't been exercising for a while, sometimes it happens really quickly. You hit the treadmill, you start running, rowing, walking, stair, whatever the thing is you're doing, and 30 seconds, a minute in, suddenly it's panic. And what's happening is your sympathetic nervous system is kicking in because as far as it knows, you're running from a bear and it's trying to help out. You haven't done this in a while. All of a sudden, your heart rate is up, your respiratory rate is up, and your nervous system is kicking in and trying to help you out. It's okay. I will usually check in. I just had someone the other day who was having this issue around running, actually. And the question is, do you need to stop now? Are you about to fail the next step, rep, whatever it is? Like literally check in. Do I want to quit because I can't go on? Probably not. Okay. Could you take 10 more steps? Yeah, I could take. Okay, let's do that. Let's think 10 steps ahead. And 10 steps from now we're going to check in again. Can I do 10 more? Yeah. And at some point the answer is going to be no. And I'm not suggesting you run yourself into fatigue, you run yourself into the ground. Please don't be on a treadmill refusing to leave when the nice people who own the gym are trying to shut it down. That moment of panic is very normal, but it will pass. And the fittest people in the world still have that. It just takes longer. Like world-class marathoners take miles to warm up. So the first 3 or 4 miles feel like that. They start running and it just feels kind of terrible and their heart's going through and there's all these people around and it's nerve wracking and their sympathetic nervous system is trying to take over for, in that case, 20, 30 minutes because it just takes them longer to get through it. But it worries them less because they're so used to it. So checking in on the actual state. Another thing, I spend a lot of time working on people with breath work and being able to down regulate your own nervous system is really, really useful. If what Michael is describing happens to you all the time, I would suggest the next time you do whatever kind of fitness exercising you're doing, especially if it's in the cardio realm, try and do it entirely breathing through your nose. Don't open your mouth. You're in a room full of oxygen. It's going to be okay. If you have to open your mouth, you can. But breathing through your nose is a great way to down regulate your nervous system. It will also put a little bit of a governor on how hard you can go. No one can go, well, very few people can go 100% red line, nasal breathing only. Getting good at cardio nasal breathing only will make you an incredible endurance athlete, as well as translate into the rest of your life. When you have a moment at work or in a relationship or something where suddenly panic hits and you feel your heart rate and you start sweating, you can go to that nasal breathing, that deep diaphragmatic nasal breathing, and you will actually have the power to downregulate your nervous system. It sounds like a magic trick, but it's just working with your own physiology. And that stress will reduce and you will be better at dealing with the situation, which is an incredible skill to have.
And breathing through your nose is a skill to eventually master. I did boxing for some time in college and after college when I started teaching. And that was one of the skills that I had to learn. And sometimes I just wanted to stop and just start breathing through my mouth, like, start wheezing. And that would just win me so much quicker. So if I just said, okay, just breathe through my nose, I could breathe out through my mouth if I wanted to, but it was still breathing in through my nose where I was able to control my breath and then allow my heart to find a pace. So it's just not running crazy. I was able to get control of that. And I think many people get to that worry sense of like, well, my heart's going crazy. And then your brain is actually thinking at the same time, like, what's going on? Like, we need to figure this out. And if you don't understand, okay, well, I'm here to get exercise because the brain doesn't know, like, why is the heart going crazy? It's not thinking like, well, he's getting exercise, guys. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine, right? It's like a false alarm. But for the body, it's a real alarm, right? Because the body or the brain's job is to keep us alive. When we're hungry, it tells us we're hungry. When we're tired, it tells us we're tired. Whatever, right? There's so many signs that our body gives us. And when our heart is doing this, it's a sign or a trigger saying, hey, something has to be wrong. And we're living in a very easy world where we don't have to worry about saber-toothed lions jumping out of bushes and eating us, or figuring out where we're going to stay. For the most part of the world, you're going to have a home over your head. You're going to be able to get food. You don't have to go out and hunt and gather. So there's many aspects of our life that we don't have to necessarily worry about anymore. So our brain or our mind now is starting to think in a more plush way, where it's like, okay, we don't have to worry about our safety so much because we have police, and everything is typically good in our days. But when that moment comes, we're not used to it. That fight or flight system is going to be forever prominent as long as we're alive, because the brain understands, I have to keep this person alive, and whatever it takes, we're going to do. So, getting into that now, why do you think people wait until they're 100 pounds overweight, they have a heart attack or a stroke, something goes on in their life where they're like, all right, Justin, this happened in my life. I had this trauma, this negative thing happened to me in my life. Why do you think they wait until that moment rather than pushing themselves today, saying, okay, I don't mind if my heart races today because I understand it's for health reasons, or I'm going to eat better because I understand I'm going to have a longer life? Why do you think people wait until something is broke before they fix it?
I think there's a couple of reasons. The first one being that change is hard. As you said, we live in a relatively easy, relatively convenient world, and it's been very deliberately engineered to make things easy and convenient, and we will follow the path of least resistance. It's easier to have processed food delivered to you through your phone and stay on your couch, and it's very, very simple. And it's designed to be very simple. And if you've been doing that, any kind of habit change is hard, right? In the good and bad way. If you're someone who, I've worked at a number of gyms, and that first class of the day, that 5:30 or 6 a.m. class, you will see those people 5 days a week for 50 to 52 weeks out of the year. And if you tell them you're canceling the 6 a.m., they get really worked up, because
Mhm.
this is a habit. This is just part of their routine. They do it good days, bad days. It is so locked in that that habit is hard to break. So it's good when that kind of habit is hard to break. But if you're someone who has gotten into a routine that maybe you know you aren't in love with, but you keep wearing that groove, the more you wear that groove, the harder it is to get out. So the first reason is that change is hard, and change is hard for everyone. And recognizing that it's hard, I think, is part of taking that step. The next thing is people often don't know what is involved and don't understand what is required to change. You referenced earlier, like people looking at their friends' workouts or Instagram workouts, or thinking they're going to have to do things they really dislike. And they often build it up to this gargantuan thing that is impossible. So why am I even going to start? Right? I'm on my couch. I just had some food delivered. I'm not going to move for the next 6 hours. And if they see the only other option is going to the gym for 2 hours at 5 a.m. so I can take a picture that looks just like The Rock, and if that's the only other option, like, of course you're not going to make that jump. That is probably completely impossible, and it wouldn't work. But there's a huge gray area in the middle that starts with you walking to get that food and bringing it back to your house. Tiny little pieces, unbreaking that habit and realizing there's so many ways in to change. You talked earlier about people doing workouts that they hate, or being a coach giving them workouts that they really don't like. When I have a consult with someone, one of the first things we'll ask is, so what do you like to do? Like, what do you actually enjoy doing? Not like maybe exercise, maybe training, maybe not, but what is it? Because there is, I would say, not 8 to 9 times out of 10, there's a way we can incorporate that in their training. If it's something they like to do and it has anything to do with movement, it's probably positive. And if it's something you enjoy doing, you're much more likely to do it. If we can train you, we can probably make you better at it, which is also satisfying. People like doing things they're good at. So we can layer this in, and maybe we're layering it in with some rehab corrective exercises, which aren't super fun. We're also doing weighted single leg step ups with a tempo eccentric, which is absolutely no fun for anybody. But if we can put that in with your tumbling or your balance work or your bike sprints or the thing that you actually like, not in a way that it's filler, but in a way that is designed to be really effective, moving you toward your goals, we're much more likely to be successful, and you're much more likely to do it because you actually enjoy it.
And that joy, I think, is going to be the key to helping us get to a better, healthy lifestyle. I know many people who find something they love and they talk about it and they say, I found yoga 2 years ago and I haven't missed a day ever since. They might say, I found CrossFit 2 years ago and I never missed a day ever since, right? They find what they love, right? And I think that's important. Understanding what you like has some validity behind it because sometimes we do things in life that we don't like. You might not like your job, for example, but you have to go to your job. And not everyone can be fortunate enough to do something that they love, that they're passionate about. Sometimes they have to put food on the table. So they will work that construction job. They will work that 9 to 5 at Walmart. They might not love it, but they know it's getting the food that they need, the roof over their head. That could be a temporary thing too, right? So if you're not happy where you are, we can figure that out too. That's maybe more life coaching or career coaching, right? Getting you to a different type of career that you find enjoyable, that you can find passion in your work. Then we get into the aspect of, yes, we found something we loved, and then we're doing what we love. We're getting in shape, and now we have this aesthetic, right? You might fall in love with who you look like. You look in the mirror and say, I love this person, right? I don't want to lose them. So we hold on to that body image. And it's not so much about what society says, because society kind of goes left and right with this, where they say, you should look this way, you should be this skinny. And then now, our modern time, you're beautiful just the way you are. And you can be 200 pounds obese, but you're beautiful just the way you are. Now, I'm not here to judge anyone. If you don't want to go to the gym, you don't have to go to the gym. If you're happy with who you are, I'm happy for you, right? At the same time. But then I always add another point. If you come to me and you're looking for fitness help, if you're coming to me looking for career help, I don't, your fitness or your aesthetics, that's you, that's 100% you. But if you're coming to me saying you want to change your fitness, I just ask, well, what would you like to look like when you look in the mirror? Like, what do you want to see when you look in the mirror? And I think so many people say, I want to look like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Well, what does that mean? Like, I don't know what that means. You want to have a bunch of muscles? Is that what you want, or do you want to just look in the mirror and be able to see your belly button or something? Like, whatever that is, when you look in the mirror, what do you want reflected at you? Maybe like, oh wow, I'm handsome, I'm beautiful, right? But I think we're living in a culture where being out of shape has maybe become a badge of honor. Whereas, like, don't worry, you're beautiful just the way you are. I accept you no matter how you look. That has negative connotations. And I do see how it could be positive, but I wanted to get your 2 cents on that. How society is kind of telling us two different stories. A, you're this type of model, or B, you're beautiful just the way you are.
That's a great question. And it's a multi-layered issue. And I think it really comes down to, I think it comes down to the individual and then digging really deep. If someone comes to me, I have a rule where I will never, ever comment on your body. I won't, if someone, it happened this morning. Someone walked in. I was like, he has definitely lost at least 15 or 20 pounds. I haven't seen him in a month or two. He's definitely didn't say a word. How do you feel? I feel great. Oh, okay. I feel like I have more energy. Oh, that's fantastic. Why? I actually lost a bunch of weight. Is that on purpose? Are you happy? Yeah. I tried really hard and it's sustainable. And I sent him to a nutrition coach and it's working great. He's like, yep, I've never felt better. I feel like I have control. It's awesome. Great. That's perfect. I'm so happy. I still didn't say anything about the way he looked. I'm not going to talk about it because you don't know how someone thinks about how they look. The likelihood of you being wrong and potentially doing damage is too easy. Like, I've had too many clients who have had severe eating disorders and someone tells them like, wow, you look great today after, they've gone on a week long of barely eating anything, 800 calories or throwing up or doing terrible things and just reinforcing these terrible habits. So now they have it in their brain that this awful behavior gets them these rewards from people that they like or respect or find attractive or things like that. So there's a whole layer of health and wellness and mental health that goes into these things. And telling people how you think they look is usually meant well, but I think it's a really challenging road, especially from a coach or a professional or someone in like fitness, wellness, things like that. And the other side of that, I have larger clients who go to a doctor because their wrist is hurt and get told that they're diabetic and need to go on a diet. And they're like, hey, doc, I came here for my wrist. I actually don't have diabetes and I compete in a strength sport. So I'm actually in my weight class right now and I did this on purpose. That person is now less likely to go back to the doctor because they feel like they get shamed for being who they are and they're perfectly happy who they are. And they are actually healthy at this weight. You can be healthy at any weight, maybe an easy catchphrase that isn't always true, but lots of individuals can be very healthy at very different weights. And some of the people who you look at and think are super fit and maybe an aesthetic that you strive for, those people are often not very healthy. Anyone who competes in a professional sport will tell you, if they're honest, that they are not healthy. Professional competition, elite bodybuilding, all of that stuff is extremely unhealthy on purpose, right? It's an extreme. It's right out of the bleeding edge of performance or aesthetics or body fat or diet or that stuff you're able to hang on to. Very, very, very few people, including very few of the people who do those pursuits, can hang out at that level of performance and aesthetic for very long. You don't see them the other 9 months of the year where they deliberately put on 40 pounds and slow way down and they're not doing high impact and they're not getting beat up and they're not taking pictures with their shirt off because that's not what they get paid to do. They'll then build up for that competition or show or whatever and aim for that. So understanding like the broader picture of how bodies work and the reality of what it might take an individual to go for a particular, especially aesthetic goal. Going back to the mindset stuff, if someone tells me, and I've had people tell me, I want to look like Charlize Theron in this movie. Okay, great. What does that mean to you? Tell me about it. Well, did you see it? Yeah, I saw the movie. But similar to your rock comment, like, what does it mean to you? What does she look like? Oh, well, she's just like strong and she can do anything she wants to. Okay, great. So you're describing feelings. You want to feel strong. You want to feel like you can do anything you want to. Yeah, but she also has muscles. Okay, so you want muscles. Yes. Okay, great. What else? And we'll dig and we'll dig and we'll dig and try to get to what does that mean to you? Because that's usually what's driving it. I want to look like The Rock. Okay, great. We might get down to like whenever he walks in a room, when he walks out on stage on a talk show, like the room is electric and he has so much confidence and just the way he carries himself, it's like he could move the building. Again, you're describing a feeling. I can't make you a 6'3" Samoan. I can potentially make you a very strong, very confident person. I can be a part of driving you toward that goal. And those people will not look like The Rock, but they could be an incredible version of themselves. And what level, what percentage of body fat that means for them, I'm honestly pretty indifferent to.
Mhm. I think many people get into the realm of BMI, like,
Hmm.
oh, like this is who I'm supposed to be, and I'm not this person. And then there's a lot of self judgment along those lines.
Hmm.
BMI, maybe they look at a peer. People have different body types. If I went by BMI, I would actually be 25 pounds overweight. If I went according to BMI, I'll be
Hmm.
25 pounds obese. And whenever I look at the calculator, it's like green is good. Then it goes into like, I think yellow or orange, and then it's red. I'm like at the mark of red and orange. I lift. I lift heavy. I like doing that. I enjoy it. And but at the same time, I do self-care. I use proper equipment. I have sleeves, things like that. I learned over the years from I started at 15, going on that journey of fitness, weightlifting, having trainers, coaches. I learned what works for me. I learned what I like. If you haven't been in the gym for quite some time, if you maybe even never even been in the gym, do you know what you like? Because it's easy to look at a magazine and saying, I like that. Like, I like how she looks. I like how he looks. And then wanting to replicate that. But you might not be willing to do the work that is going to be exactly how they look. So I think it's more so, as you said it, a feeling, right? Like how do you want to feel? Like when you look at this picture, what do you see more so than what are you looking at? Because yeah, you can be strong and confident, and according to BMI, be 25 pounds overweight, and you got exactly what you wanted. So what a calculator says is not necessarily so much going to be factual. So having like a coach, having someone who's able to break things down for you, you even said it, like a nutritionist, right? Bringing in someone else who can help you with your diet plan. Like, what are you eating? What foods do you need? What foods work for you? That's important too, especially as you grow in age, right? When I was 28, I had to totally change my diet. I was able to eat all this food, junk food before. As soon as I hit 28, metabolism slowed down, everything started to change. It's like, what the heck's going on? I'm doing the same exact thing I always have been doing, and my body's not doing what I want it to do. I had to learn. So I went through that process. And we have to understand that life is going to be a journey where it's like how you are at 30 might not be the same as how you are at 50. It doesn't mean that you're growing old. It's just that your body is changing. And sometimes we have to understand and be aware of how our body is and then move accordingly. So, yes, you can take a bunch of products, supplements, things like that. But is that a long term thing, right? Are you going to do that long term? And for me, I do everything natural. I know people who use supplements, creatine, stuff like that, not knocking it, but it's not for me. I rather look in the mirror and say, I did this rather than, oh, look, I got big muscles, creatine. So it just depends. It really just depends on the person, on what you're really looking for. So if I can from you, Justin, if you can maybe talk about what I said or a few last words, and then after, please tell people where they can find you.
Absolutely. I just want to highlight something you pointed out, that bodies change as they age. I run into all the time. I have a whole cohort of clients who came to me basically mourning their past selves. I used to look like this, be able to do this, be able to perform this way athletically when I was 24 and I was single and I had a relatively easy job or I was in school. I'm 36 with two kids and a very stressful job now. Why can't I do the same thing? I followed the same training plan. I dug my old logbooks out and I followed it for 8 weeks and it's not working. Yeah, of course not. I would write you a very different training plan. I probably would have written you that plan when you were 24 and single and had like, you're an entirely different person now. Like, don't let that person go. Trying to get back there is a waste of time and probably detrimental to you. Like, figure out who you are and maybe talk to someone who can help you figure out who you are. And then we can make you an incredibly successful version of yourself, which may well be stronger, faster, more capable than the 24-year-old was.
Mhm.
Because we have all of this wisdom and all of this training age, all of this experience, which are things you can only gain by doing it. You are far better armed to create this person than you were then, but you also have to accept that you're a slightly different person and maybe your recovery, diet, sleep, etc. is all going to change. I love talking with people about this stuff. If people want to find me, Instagram is usually the easiest. I'm at Feel Strong Fit. If you like the website more, feelstrong.me. I'm extremely responsive and I love just talking to people and answering questions. So if you have questions, want to reach out, want to talk about coaching, just have some weird exercise questions, I talk to people all day. I respond to absolutely every message. So jump on in.
Perfect. All your information will be in the description box below, so everyone can find you just by clicking on your link, whether it be Instagram or your website. So I encourage everyone to reach out to you, whether just to start the conversation or to get to work. So again, thank you so much, Justin, for coming on Coaching in Session. A huge pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime.